Alrighty, if you guys have not heard this yet, we have got Michael Todd versus VITALY LALETIN coming up, and I believe just 1 month from today. And I figured a fun way to kind of potentially analyze this match would be able to look at Michael versus Hermes at East versus West the last time. For copyright reasons, we're just going to look at one round here. Now, I think that there are a few ways that this match could potentially go. Overall, I am probably leaning toward Michael Todd to take this one. I'm assuming this is probably not the majority opinion. I'm thinking most people will probably go with VITALY just because he's VITALY. And I definitely could see that happening. I can see a VITALY victory here. But I think what I would say in this match is that Michael Todd should win this match. I think he is. I think he has the tools he needs to in order to defeat VITALY, and I think this is a bad style match for VITALY. Now, the most easy potential way, maybe not the most easy, the most simple way that I could see VITALY winning this match, and I really hope that this does not happen, is that the match literally just never slips and goes to straps. Michael Todd is unable to slip. I'm thinking this match is best of 5, and if that's the case, it would just be 3-0 VITALY. He clamps onto the fingertips of Michael Todd and just pins him like that. I really, really don't like seeing matches in that way, because to me, part of the whole reason we're seeing the match is just to see what would happen. We want to see who is the stronger athlete, who's the better arm wrestler, and sure, I'm not going to take any credit away from someone if they do win by just clamping onto the fingertips, but for me, I still am very curious who would have won in straps. To me, that's what I care about a lot more. So I still would want to see the match, and it would feel like the match almost didn't even happen to me. Now, so VITALY could totally win in that way. Going beyond that, the way that I think Michael Todd has a really good style match against VITALY here, the way that I would see him winning is similar to what we see right here versus Hermes Gasparini. So notice how Michael Todd hits offensively, and his wrist gets cracked back. And we're going to see Hermes' wrist getting cracked back here too at some point, but here's kind of the key part of this match to me, especially when going up against VITALY LALETIN from Michael Todd, is Michael's wrist is back. So Michael doesn't really care about his wrist flexion that much in a match. And what that does is it gives him a connection to this lower strap to where he can drag and he can open someone's bicep. Normally in a match, you can always beat someone's bicep with your lat drag or with your kind of full body, almost like a one-arm deadlift drag, if you're doing more of a king's move. The problem is that your wrist is going to open up. So kind of the equation is lat always beats bicep, but bicep always beats wrist. That's normally the way that things work. So if you're rowing against someone's bicep, sure, you'll open that bicep, but you get your wrist cracked back in the process. For most people, that's a big problem. For Michael Todd, he doesn't really care that much. He knows how to arm wrestle without his wrist. So this is going to be, in my opinion, a huge advantage for Michael in this match. And notice how when Hermes drives here, we're going to see him do a little surge, and you can see it right there. His elbow flexor angle opens just a little bit. You can see it right there. And that's because Hermes is going up against that lat drag. And it's really not a lat drag, some sort of elbow drag. It's at a very awkward angle, but it's always going to be stronger than the bicep. Michael is going to have much more access to pulling at a very open angle than someone like Hermes is, and than someone like VITALY LALETIN is. So what's happening is Hermes is slowly opening that bicep, and you can see it even more so as the match goes on. Now he's still climbing, but his bicep angle is getting worse, and at some point he kind of has to abandon that and transition into more of this flop press angle. And he is able to get the pin using that flop press because he climbed high enough. He climbed up and over the fingertips of Michael Todd, and he essentially pressed Mikey's pinky into the pad, and he did that by getting super, super far out on the hand. So awesome job by Hermes. I don't think that VITALY is going to be capable of doing this. And that's because just biomechanically, VITALY's arms are so long, there's no way he's going to have anywhere near the amount of back pressure that Hermes does. The longer your arm is, the more of a disadvantage you are at any kind of arm pressure. You have the ability to apply pressure at different angles, and that can work really well in certain matches. But to me, VITALY is all about taking hand control, and Michael is someone who does extremely well without hand control. Another thing we've noticed when watching VITALY is that he tends to do really well right off the start of the match, but where he tends to struggle is as he starts to surge toward the pin pad. So he takes height, and then as he starts to go down and toward the pin pad, we saw this against Artem Morozov on the left arm, we saw it against Hermes Gasparini, that's where he starts to lose his wrist, which makes total sense because as you start to go down toward the pin pad, you're now losing height. So all that kind of natural height that VITALY has because of his forearm length, as soon as he starts going down toward the pin pad, he just loses that automatically. So it doesn't matter how long your arm is once you start intentionally moving your hand height downward, then you're going to lose your height regardless. And I think that as soon as VITALY starts to go down in this motion right here to try to pin Michael Todd, I think he's going to lose his wrist. It's possible that he could just get so up and over the top that he can just pin Michael and he can make adjustments and everything, but I just don't really see that happening when someone like Hermes, who has so much more back pressure than VITALY, and again, it's not that VITALY is bad at back pressure, it's just that he's 6'8", his arms are so long, he has a really bad leverage for back pressure. I think this angle we see here from Hermes, I don't think VITALY is going to be able to keep that. I think VITALY's angle is going to be even more open. Now, VITALY also has a different ability, and because his arm is so long, he can kind of follow Michael Todd a little bit more to Michael Todd's side of the table. So that's a whole other aspect of the match that I think will be interesting. But ultimately, VITALY is going to have to take the match to the winning side of the table and apply down pressure to pin Michael Todd. And I think when that happens, I think it's going to look just like this moment right here. I think VITALY's going to lose his wrist. And as soon as that happens, I think it's over. I just don't see VITALY being able to maintain hand control and just go right through Michael Todd's King's move in multiple rounds. And I think that over time, it's going to be VITALY's bicep trying to climb up and over the top of Michael versus Michael's dragging pressure. And I don't see how VITALY is going to win there. Really, to me, even against Hermes, and I would rank Hermes above VITALY, I would think Hermes has a better style matchup against Michael Todd. I think as this match went on, it looked worse and worse for Hermes, and he wasn't really ever able to climb up and over the top of Michael Todd. He always had to flop press through Michael. So as this match went on, even for Hermes, I think it started shifting slightly in Michael's favor. And I think it's just going to be even worse for VITALY because I don't think that VITALY has a flop press like this. I don't think it's anywhere near the caliber of Hermes' flop press. Hermes just has so much arm power, and with that shorter arm, biomechanically, I just don't see how VITALY could keep up with that kind of thing. So I think for VITALY, he can't lose wrist control. Hermes can give up his wrist and flop press through Michael, just barely. If he climbs a little bit first, that was super impressive, but I don't think VITALY can do that. So to me, the odds that VITALY Laletin keeps his wrist over 3 rounds in a row versus Michael Todd in straps, I think that's highly unlikely. And on top of all that, Michael has one of the best flop presses in the world. He was able to flop press through Gennady Quikvinya and Kamil Jablonski. It wasn't in the first round, but still, it's right up there with the very best guys. So I think it's also possible that even if all of that doesn't work for some reason, Michael has that fresh flop press that he can switch to and then potentially beat VITALY with that as well. So overall, I think there's the chance that VITALY just never allows Michael to slip. I really hope that doesn't happen and he wins 3-0. I think there's also the chance that it does go to straps and VITALY can just kind of, because of that sort of awkward pressure he can apply with that steep angle, maybe it just causes Michael a lot more trouble than I'm anticipating. And he is able to go up and over the top of him in such a weird way that Michael can't get any kind of pressure into the match. And he just gets flash pinned 3 times. That's also possible. But I think probably what is the most likely is that we are going to see this position right here at some point in this match with Michael versus VITALY. And once this happens, I think Michael should win. So let me know what you guys think about this. Like I said, I think Michael should win this match, but VITALY is really, really tricky. And it wouldn't surprise me if it's super back and forth and Vitaly figures out a way to claw this one out. So let me know what you guys think. Thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you later.